All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Me here, talking about real music and doing it real time for a few real people out there just like you, just like me. All right, so Dennis DeYoung has broken his silence over on Facebook. He's, I think, a little bit sarcastic, maybe a little angry. I don't know. He's not too angry. I would say, again, he's like the guy on the front porch who's just yelling at the kids to get off the lawn, which at this stage of my life, I am so into that. And by the way, there are going to be people, apparently, who don't like my take on Styx, who will probably have something negative to say about what I'm about to do, which is to share what Dennis had to say, because apparently Styx is now playing a song that they weren't playing before. And Tommy Shaw did this interview. So here's Dennis DeYoung a couple hours ago. It says, "Hey kids, a quarter of a century after the fact, Tommy Shaw has an epiphany 25 years later." In this interview, which he did with Cleveland.com, by the way, Tommy raves about, excuse me, Best of Times, calling it a brilliant song. He goes on to say that they were proud to play it. I guess they're playing it up in Canada. Dennis says, "Well, thanks, T. That's mighty kind of you. And you are correct. Your solo on the song is perfect. So is the one on First Time." That's a song that Tommy Shaw hates, by the way. "You can sure pick the right notes, given that there are so many to choose from." There are a lot of notes to choose from here. "I sure wish you would have invited me back this tour to sing this one. It is one of my favorites." Now, from what I understand, there were negotiations that happened that fell through where Dennis was supposed to come back. And basically, Tommy and JY gave the negotiations the middle finger. And I'm pretty sure there was a good bunch of money. There was a lot of money that everyone could have made. And this wouldn't have been a permanent thing. Dennis would have toured and then he would have sailed back to Chicago, right? In case you guys have forgotten, there's a bunch more that you guys are playing that I could sing and play as well, like Mr. Roboto. Now, I've heard the version of Best of Times sung by the amazing Lawrence Gowan, Larry Gowan from Canada, right? And he's singing the Best of Times. And it's kind of like karaoke bar. I wish what they had done is called Mark Shearer, right? Remember that name. Mark Shearer did this album a few years ago with Jennifer Batten, the guitar player. She worked with Michael Jackson. Mark has this voice, I think, which is close to Dennis. And, you know, Larry could have still played keyboards. Bring Mark in, bring Toby Hitchcock in, bring somebody in who doesn't sound like a Keebler elf to sing. And I think the fans would have appreciated that. I would have probably said, you know what? I understand. You didn't get along with Dennis. My beef all the time with bands that do this stuff is they hire somebody who may have all of the skills. Like, obviously, Larry can play keyboards, right? And he can spin his keyboard, which is really exciting for the fans. He spins it around, but he doesn't really sound like Dennis. He just doesn't. And if you think he does, go listen to the live version of Come Sail Away with Larry singing. Really different. Really different. Now, again, I'm not saying his voice is bad. I'm saying he doesn't really sound like Dennis DeYoung. And so, you know, anyway, he goes on. "This is Dennis. I know that you've been playing this one as an encore for some time. That's Mr. Roboto. You also had very kind words for that one as well, calling it a timeless song with an incredible arrangement. No need for you to come up with any songs about robots when you got that one in your arsenal, don't you know?" Oh, if you know this story, right? If you don't know the story, which I know I've probably talked about this in Styx videos, or it's in that VH1 documentary where Tommy says, "I just can't come up with songs about robots." Now, Dennis again does a nice little zinger here. He says, "Even though that song isn't about robots, but the concerns I had regarding the technology humans could create. Like, talk about prophetic, right? There's no problem with technology and AI and all that stuff now, is there? None whatsoever. This guy was 25 to 40 years ahead of his time. 1984. Why did he say 25 years? It's actually 35 years. Did he say 25? Let me go back up here. A quarter of a century. No, Dennis, it's 35. It's more. We're talking what, 1984, 1983? Yeah. So we're looking at like 40 years ago. That's what we're looking at. So anyway, maybe nobody really wanted to pay attention to how long it's been. Thank goodness that never happened. This is so good. This is like the ultimate troll. Thank goodness that never happened. But you know that you were there adding the vocoder to the song, and that was you, me, and JY singing in Japanese. That's JY's friends' parents came up with. Huh. Interesting. JY's friends' parents came up with that idea. Man, we had fun doing that one. All the band members and 2 engineers gathered around the mixing board, each of us with hands-on knobs, with individual responsibilities, a real team effort. Oh, see, you know what he's doing here? I see what he's doing here. Remember, it's supposed to be Dennis's way or the highway. And Dennis here is showing that this was a team effort. And he's recounting how the song was recorded. That's interesting. We wanted it to sound like machines had recorded it, which even dictated the way John played his drums. This is a great retell. You're actually learning stuff. It was also why the guitars are underplayed. Guitars sound too human. This song was our way of saying, here come the machines. All right. So this addresses something else that Tommy and JY have come up with in recent years, is that they wanted to be a real rock band again with the testosterone. Starting to stray in Dan Rather territory a little bit there. But yeah, the reason they wanted the song to sound like this is because they wanted it to sound like a machine. This is good stuff. Dennis should write a book. He goes on to say, I see you added BOT, which is Best of Times, to the set up in Canada first. Wise choice, since it was #1 up there. That's a dig. Canadian fans going to the shows going, this song was huge up here. Huge, and they're not playing it. Just like Babe here in the US. They're never going to play. If they play Babe, I'm going to go on and I don't know what I'll do. But they play Babe, that will be the ultimate cave-in. Have Lawrence Gowan singing Babe? That's just not right. Man, I love the Canadians. If memory serves, they gave us 2 other #1s, Babe and Mr. Roboto. And then in 2006, the Magnifique Quebecers gave me and Eric Lapointe another #1 with 100 beers from now. Check that. It's years, not beers. By the way, that's an actual Dennis DeYoung solo project that he's talking about here. It does an old guy's heart glad to know my ballads and my one foray into techno are still loved by so many of our fans. Think of me each night when the audience goes nuts over Roboto, and when they get all weepy over the Best of Times, I know they will because I've seen it myself countless times these past 25 years. Cheers, Bobby Kilroy. And here's the article, by the way, from cleveland.com. And if I go over there briefly here, I might have to do a little bit of moving around. So I wanted to talk about this a little bit here. They get asked about Dennis all the time. All right. This is something they didn't want to really talk about. This is the paragraph I wanted to focus on. If Styx gets in, will Dennis want to be a part of that? Okay, is this interviewer? I mean, I can, this is why I can do this, right? This is why I have in my room here, in my house, I can do this because somebody asks, why? No, Dennis wouldn't want to be a part of it. The better question would have been, will you let Dennis be a part of this? I mean, if his name is on the roster for who they're going to induct into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but Tommy Shaw can't even talk about Dennis DeYoung. Listen to this. So I used to have a lot of things bugging me. After a while, I was like, why are all these people in my head? Tommy, am I in your head, brother? I could be in your head, but some YouTuber will come along and say I'm an idiot, and then everything will be fine. I'm carrying them around. You're carrying Dennis around, talking to them, and I finally decided, okay, everybody who's up there, gather around. I'm letting you all go. I hate to tell you, but you're all released. And why is he the victim of the fact that he threw Dennis out of his own band? How did Tommy Shaw become the victim of what they're doing to Dennis DeYoung? I don't get it. And he says, and I wish you the best. I meant it. I mean it. By doing that, all the noise went away. It did with everyone living up there. Once I did, I was like, why didn't I do that 20 years ago? Highly recommend it. Okay. Anyway, he goes on to talk about we're getting metaphysical. That's the interviewer. We all do it. Carry this weight, replay conversations, sort out how things could have been different. Most people have a resentment list. And he's not walking around with that. He says, and I just put mine down. All right, well, if you don't have this resentment list anymore, why not just bring Dennis back for the last thing that he wants to do, which is one more go round with you guys, and then you can really let him go. And he goes, there you go. I'm releasing you back to the universe, you know. When it was all over, I was like, I think this works. I felt lighter, and it's never bugged me again. Yes, we're playing his songs. We're going to play the best of times. I played the solo on that, sang, played vocoder, and it's a brilliant song that he wrote. We're proud to play it. We give him credit for that. You know, do they give him credit like in the show? Bravo. I'm honored to play it. The fans are going to love it. So no hard feelings there. So if there are no hard feelings there, why do you keep him out? Why not have him back in if there are no hard feelings? This is confusing, Tommy. Look, can I just say something here at the end about why I talk about Styx? And this is number one, it's subject matter. Number two, I feel as though Dennis deserves to be back in Styx for one last thing, one last go round, whatever you want to call it. It's a thing. It's just a thing. It's the thing. Don't get the thing. Stay away from the thing. But seriously, with just these bands that have grudges and hold on to stuff, and okay, it's a brilliant. Now we admit it's a brilliant song. Is Babe a brilliant song? Is Babe a brilliant song? I don't know if it's brilliant, but it hit number one, right? Do the Canadian fans want to hear Babe? It hit number one in Canada. We'll do the best of times, but we're not going to stoop to Babe. Nope. We're not going to do it. Those ballads, those schmaltzy ballads. This is why Styx isn't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. If the Hall of Fame committee had listened to Mission to Mars from start to finish, dang it, they would be in the Hall of Fame. But they haven't done it yet. They should, though. They should. And just that lineup. That way you just get rid of Dennis. Dennis is not in that lineup. Who knows if Styx is ever going to get into the Hall of Fame? This could just be a ridiculous conversation about nothing. And I just find it entertaining that one by one, the dominoes, well, you know, I guess we'll play the best of times now. Dennis could sing it, but we're going to have Larry sing it. Probably should have Mark Shearer in the band to sing it. Maybe Toby Hitchcock could sing it. Somebody who sounds like Dennis could sing it. Or do one more tour. Dennis said, hey, you could have brought me out there. And what would Tommy Shaw do? I mean, he could stand, again, he could be on the other side. And by the way, all the haters that hate Dennis, this would just be for a few months. And then you could get back to the Crash of the Crown and the Mission to Mars and all that amazing music. Cyclorama. Those are the earth-shattering, groundbreaking albums. Not the Grand Illusion. That sucks. But, you know, what do I know? You know what? If you want some good prog, check this out, right? A never-ending John's dream. It's kind of like a never-ending Dennis DeYoung dream. Dennis thinks someday they might let him back, but I don't know. They didn't want to let you back, Dennis. And Dennis does great Facebook rants. I wish he would come on the show with me. I don't know. We could have a good time. I'd be gentle. I wouldn't talk politics either, right? I wouldn't. I'd just stay away. I know he's a Chicago Democrat or whatever. I would just be like, dude, it's fine. You know, who are you voting for? The corpse? You're voting for the corpse to keep the crazy man from getting power again, Dennis? Our country is going to hell, but yet we're just going to go, yeah, well, this is better than that and so forth. And, you know, we'll just keep things the way they are because they're so good. I don't know, people. I've covered pretty much every topic here. I want to thank you for putting up with me. And if you'd like to support the channel, there are ways to do that, please, because I'm not getting any views on these videos. So Patreon, YouTube members, please. It's pretty easy to do. You get early watching privileges. This video will go to YouTube members for hours before anyone else will get to see it. Seriously, I'm totally not making that up. And then there's Buy Me a Coffee, which after this, you know, even though I've got my my caffeine here, I could probably use a little bit more. So Buy Me a Coffee would be great. This is the production that you're getting, the sharing there. I'm not sure if that even worked out. I'll have to watch the video to see. But God bless everyone. I think we can agree that we should pray for peace here and around the world. In 2024, I think something crazy, creepy could happen this year. Could. I'm not as prophetic as Dennis DeYoung was on the technology thing. That was like 1984, 40 years ago. The dude nails it, and he throws down, it's not about robots. Couldn't think of songs about robots. See, that's when you know that the other person isn't in sync with what you're trying to do. Maybe you need to have a meeting about, hey, do you guys understand the dangers of technology and what's down the road? Because I think this would be really good subject matter. Turns out Dennis DeYoung was 100% right. And Mr. Roboto is here. And his name is actually Elon Musk.